Good evening. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and welcome to the Wednesday stream with myself and my brother from, now we call ourselves brothers-in-law, but my brother from another lover, Uncivil Law. I think I said brother from another lover.
You did, in fact, say that, yes. I wasn't going to make a point of it, but yes, you did.
Slip of the tongue, slip of the tongue. But how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm better now that I'm here with you.
Thank you. I don't have to sue you for any defamation or anything like that, man. You're starting to get me scared right now.
No, I wouldn't. I was noting this recently because there were a couple comments in my YouTube chat that people thought they were trying to start a fight or something, like a beef between me and Emily, and I'm just like, I don't know, just for the hell of it, I guess, to stir up drama. It's always. They think there's people just trying to stir up drama. I'm like, no, Emily and I don't have a beef. What are you talking about?
But you know what though? It's funny because I told you guys, when you're covering these internet cases, it gets crazy because these people like the Vic Mignogna, this case, the people just for you people out there who don't know, the problem is when you cover these YouTube cases, people on YouTube start attacking the coverage. That's what's happening with Emily now. That's what happened with him. That's what happened with me. So when you cover these YouTube cases, the fans of those YouTubers start attacking the people covering the case if you don't say what they like you to say. And that's all that happens. And Emily's going through it, and you're going through it. So it is what it is. It's still a fun case though.
No, I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I did like the most recent motion on it for the motion for the status conference. And if I'm the judge, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's try to calm everyone down. And basically tell them to stop filing things because I don't need to know this to figure out jurisdiction. So I don't really care right now about all this stuff that's not relevant.
Well, do me a favor, catch me up before we get to
how can I?
You got to catch me up. All right. So the last thing, so for you people who don't know the case, let me try to give you the quick rundown. There are two YouTubers. Katie Joy Paulson has 130 subscribers. Toddy Westbrook has something like 9 million subscribers, right?
Yeah.
Well, Toddy Westbrook, she's in another lawsuit where she's worried about where she's being sued by her business partner. The business partner supposedly most people suspect the business partner is feeding information to this YouTuber called Katie Joy. Katie Joy's been saying a whole bunch of stuff. So Tati, with her 9 million subs, sued Katie Joy Paulson with her 137,000 subs for defamation. To me, I think the defamation claim is weak. I think there's a lot of defenses, but for some reason, Katie Joy Paulson's lawyer didn't challenge the defamation.
That continues to be a very bizarre move where the squirrel goes, well, like the dog in that movie where it goes squirrel. That's what I feel like every time when I see no defamation. It's like no defamation. It's like,
but listen, how can you in a defamation lawsuit?
How can you not? Yeah, in a defamation lawsuit, how can you not move to dismiss the defamation? I don't know. It's a bold choice, Cod, and let's see if it pays off for her.
Oh my God, yeah, it was a bold choice. So, whatever happened with that? So she doesn't fight. She goes for jurisdiction. So the last thing I hadn't heard. Now this case has gone crazy. For you guys don't know, this case has gone crazy. The defendant.
I've definitely seen more bizarre. I've seen more bizarre civil cases, but this is definitely gone off the rails.
So the defendant's number 2 homegirl, this is like her, we call them do dirt people, right?
Ride and die, baby. Ride and die.
Ride or dies is different. Ride or dies are those, but we talk about the do dirt people. A do dirt person is someone where if you're a star and if something happens, the do dirt person is supposed to be the one to take the charge. So if we're in the car, cops come and stop the car and find a gun, do dirt person's got to step up and say, that's my gun, right? Because you're taking care of the do dirt person. So in case we get dirt, you do the dirt. So supposedly Lorianne was like the do dirt person, right? She was the person that was, go mass flag this, mass flag that. So she flipped, right? She flipped, gave a statement. I'm the do dirt person. This is the dirt I was doing on behalf of this, and we was close because of whatever reason. So the do dirt person flipped at the last thing that I remember. So what happened after that? Because there's been some new things that happened after Lorianne, the do dirt person, flipped. Let me just say what's up to this super chat. Super chats are welcome, people. Thank you for this. I got mentioned. TT Secrets girl, we love you.
We do love Secrets girl. No, but this whole thing, this whole thing is just it's all been a side issue because on the main line we had the complaint. The second thing in the sequence is the answer. We haven't gone that far. So we had one, and then this has all been one prime, part A, B, C, D, E, F, so we've just been one derivative and then just going down the line. So we haven't even gotten to two in the main series. That's where this is. It's just weird. But the latest thing to happen was that Brown, the lawyer for Katie Joy Paulson, has moved for a status conference along with an affidavit from Katie Joy that says that she denies any accusations relating to hacking or trying to access the account because Saltz had indication that his account was trying to be accessed with a recovery email, and the recovery email was Katie Joy's email. So that might suggest something, but at this point,
it might suggest that she's the one doing it. That's what it suggests.
Yeah, but at this point, there's so many people involved, and people want to watch the world burn. That who knows what is going on in reality.
Anybody can type that.
So yeah, Brown wants to have a status conference, and he attached all these things, and the whole thing has gone to hell. And if I were the judge at this point, I'd be like, let's have a status conference. Let's calm everyone down and see what we can do. And I think a lot of this has gone off the rails because Saltz made the first move that was the problem in this series. Saltz was the first one to make an accusation against the other side's lawyer. In one of his documents, against Brown. So Saltz said he had a whole paragraph in one of his things about how Brown was acting in bad faith, and went on to this because he must know about this or must know about this, that what's going on. And I think that's probably where this is coming from.
Brown is Katie Joy's lawyer.
Yeah, that's what's coming from. Now Katie Joy's lawyer is trying to apparently, according to the affidavits, get Lori Ann to file bar complaints against Saltz, which is a real dick move. That's a real dick move to do to the other side. And I think now the lawyers are actually fighting each other.
Just for the people who don't know, Saltzy is Tati's lawyer, and Brown is Katie Joy, the defendant's attorney. Go ahead.
So I just think now the lawyers are actually fighting each other, and a lot of this is the lawyers now just slapping at each other in court motions. I think there's a decent chance if Saltz had never written that and never started this like lawyer on lawyer beef, I don't think the number of documents that are here would be here. I think this is the lawyers just using the legal process to slap at each other. And it also goes to see why Brown did some of the things that he did. So Saltz was the one that apparently started the sequence. So bad form.
So we could all just be caught up. This is still on for motion to dismiss, and they're still talking about just for the for religious jurisdiction, right? Because the other ancillary claims.
That's the only issue we're trying to solve right this second.
Okay,
so
all the only issue we're trying to
solve right this second is personal jurisdiction for Katie Joy Paulson. That is the issue we're supposed to be trying to solve.
So why the hell are we talking about
I don't know
all that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know why we're talking about hacking. I don't know why we're talking about these declarations. I don't know why Brown included an affidavit from Katie Joy. Katie Joy now wants to offer some information because it's completely irrelevant to the motion.
Yeah, because as I'm understanding it, right? This is a motion to dismiss on the 12. This not even 12B6, it's 12B2, right? Motion to dismiss.
Well, there was 1, 2, and 6, I think.
Yeah, but maybe I'm not sure.
The attorney didn't exactly label them, but yeah, it's 1, 2, and 6.
Yeah, so this is like a 12B1 or a 12B2. I forget which ones.
1, 2, and 6. Yeah.
But anyway, so this is a one for person. So in this type of motion, you have to accept whatever the plaintiff says is true, right? And even if whatever the plaintiff says, if you accept the plaintiff allegation is true, do you still have jurisdiction or so forth, or something that you can show. So all this other stuff of them arguing with the facts and who's telling the truth, it seems like not even to really matter in terms of personal jurisdiction, and the 12B6, which was shit itself. So I don't know. It just seems odd. Is Saltz just doing this to just kind of I don't want to say harass because that's the wrong word, but is he just keeping a pressure on Katie Joy by continuously filing these things? Because if, like you're saying, it's irrelevant. At a point, aren't you going to piss off the judge?
Yeah, well, I think Saltz kind of started this party with the bad faith accusations and making it personal against the other lawyer. The lawyers aren't supposed to be fighting each other. The clients are fighting each other. When the lawyers start fighting each other, it just makes everything more complicated and drags everything out. And then you get this kind of stuff where you just get these ancillary motions of everyone has to slap each other because it's basically a dick measuring contest at that point. And it's just a waste of time. How much more money are they spending because of this? How much more time are they spending because of this? So it's jacking up legal fees. It's making everything go longer. Both sides are paying more. And Saltz, I think, was the first bad actor in this sequence, as far as I can tell. So, and then of course Brown went completely off the rails. So now the lawyers are escalating against each other, and the whole thing has gone to shit. So at this point, the judge really needs to grant the status conference. That's a good time for the judge to get involved. We do the status conference. We get them both in the same room. Now, these are the COVID days, so we are probably going to get them in the same physical room, which is a little unfortunate because this really should be a face-to-face kind of meeting.
Well, hold on.
The same on Zoom.
Hold on. But the judge could easily just make a quick minute order or something like that, just to say, hey, listen, no more motions. It's over. No more paperwork. I'm going to make let's settle this. And
the judge definitely needs to do that too.
He takes control of the court.
Yeah, the judge definitely needs to put out a minute order of stop filing things.
Yeah, that's it.
None of you guys can file anything anymore until I make a decision on this, because the only issue we're trying to decide is jurisdiction. To decide jurisdiction, we're looking at minimum contacts for Katie. Did Katie do enough stuff, in short, to justify bringing her before a Washington court? That's the only issue we're trying to solve right now. The evidence that we needed to solve that issue, we had, I don't even know, 4 pleadings and 12 documents ago or something. We had everything we need to know. Here's the various law. Here's the various things they did. Go figure out whether it meets the legal standard. None of this information is helping to solve that issue. So it's like, why do I care right now? I don't care.
Listen, brother, good luck to you in following this. This guy is following the case. I will not be following this case. This guy's followed this case. So, good luck to you. It sounds interesting as hell, but, I'm just not. It's just, it's getting too crazy on Twitter with that case. Secret Squirrel, it's turning into that other YouTube lawsuit. Yeah, that me and Kurt were talking about that before. It seems like, when you're dealing with these YouTube lawsuits and following these YouTube lawsuits, the big issue is that because we're also YouTubers, we get not really involved in the case as much, but it's just easier to bring us into this fold. Look at what's happening with Emily. Like, isn't Emily being threatened to be sued by Katie?
Yeah, apparently Katie Joy wants to get Emily into the suit somehow. Which, why?
It's just insane. But again,
you're getting distracted. Keep your eye on the ball.
Yeah. Thanks for the 5,000 percent. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's just the way it is sometimes. So, but I think Katie needs to focus it on Toddy, because that's the one who's trying to sue you for excess of $5 million. Let's deal with one lawyer.
That would be a good place to direct your attention. Yeah.
So
and also stop talking on social media, because Toddy hasn't been talking on social media. Pretty much standard advice from every lawyer. And Katie can't keep her mouth shut. And every time Katie opens her, that's also part of the problem. Katie keeps opening her mouth, and every time she does, it's another motion.
Well, listen, God bless him, and hopefully we'll get some new bangers soon, because the more they file, the more content you get. Right? This is like content free for you. So.
Yeah. Well, now because Trump didn't pardon any of the Capitol rioters, I've got all the content I need forever, because I can just cover all the Capitol cases. So I've got all the content I need for the rest of time.
So let's move on to the election. So this was our season finale of the election.
Yeah, season finale. The series finale.
Series finale. It's the series
of
finale.
Trump. Yeah, this was the end of series 4 and the series finale of Trump.
All right.
The presidency.
I had an epiphany the other day about Trump. Now, I'm going to say it. At the beginning, I actually liked Trump when he first started running. And you know why I like Trump? And I like
He's
Trump.
a New Yorker?
Well, that's part of the reason too. But let me explain it. I like Trump when he first started running. Not the whole, his whole brashness. But I did like the fact that he was saying stuff that I agreed with. One of the things was that, hey, all these politicians are corrupt. And you know how I know? Because I'm corrupt too, and I'm paying them. right? I'm paying the Hillary Clinton. You know, I'm her biggest donor, and then on the backside, I'm the biggest donor to the Republicans too. I'm paying them more. I'm the one who's wheeling the puppet strings. You know what I'm saying? They're on my, you know, when people are saying the politicians are paid, I'm the guy cutting the check. That made sense to me. You know, this billionaire, he's right. He's giving Hillary Clinton, giving everybody. He says he knew how it worked. So I did understand that. And I did understand you have these Republicans and these Democrats. And if you're in Michigan and the plant closed down and they sent your, you know, factory job to Mexico, and they're talking about this is good for the, you know, North American free trade, and you don't have no job, I understand why you're going to vote for Trump. You know what I'm saying? That just makes, if you're a coal miner in West Virginia and Hillary Clinton says, I want to put all the coal mines out of business, I understand why you're not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. You know what I'm saying? It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. But and the problem is, I think that the media establishment and the West Coast and the East Coast politicians don't understand. That's what made Trump so enticing. Trump wasn't think about this. People say Trump was this Republican, Trump versus the Democrat, but that's not what Trump was. Trump wasn't a Republican, right? He called Republicans out. He called John McCain, you know, he called John McCain a loser. Let's not forget about the harsh words he had against Mitt Romney. Lying Ted Cruz, right? He said all those horrible. He said Ted Cruz's father is assassinated Kennedy, right? This guy said the most horrible things about the guy. He called his wife ugly. Yeah. So he called out the Republicans just like he called out the Democrats. So it wasn't like this was some Republican that we all knew. Trump was just like, yo, listen, F the system. Everybody's corrupt, and I'm the one who pays for the corruption. That's why. And even though he was saying all these things that weren't true, all these lies, all these other things, but it resonated because we said everybody else is saying the same lies, except this guy's just telling me he's saying the same lies. And at the end of the day, I think with Trump, the thing that made Trump so enticing to so many people is because it was good to finally see somebody tell the truth about what they were doing.
Yeah.
Not the fact that they were doing it, but just be honest about it. Yeah, I'm the guy who pays the politicians. Go ahead. I know that was like a little rant, but what do you think?
No, I think that one of the other reasons that Trump was popular with a lot of people is because he didn't really give a crap about the culture stuff, and he was one to fight back on the culture stuff. He was a big FU to the Democrats and some of the more left-leaning elements of the Democrat Party with the social justice warriors and stuff like that. And Trump was a big, you know, he was very brazen and not any way politically correct. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air there too. So that was other reason. And on a purely policy level, I think he's been very good for the most part for the Republicans and conservatives. You know, his rhetoric leaves a whole lot to be desired, but on a policy level, he was pretty good for a Republican conservative president. His judicial picks were good. His economic policy was very much in Republican line. He could have been a lot better about the debt and not blowing up the debt. That would have been helpful. So not very Tea Party friendly because he's doing nothing to solve the debt. I mean, he really blew up the debt. So that's not great. He was good on China. He was good in the Middle East. He got 3 new peace deals signed. He didn't start any new dumb wars. I do remember the left about the no new wars, or get them out of the war. And so we finally found a war unfriendly president in Trump. So the left should have been thrilled. That didn't seem to happen for some reason.
Yeah.
But and until COVID happened, the economy was looking really solid. New manufacturing was up in the United States. The U.S. stock market was great. The economy was growing with no end in sight. Maybe a year earlier than that, it was looking really shaky.
No, the economy, if you look at the job numbers for the economy, they've been going down for the past, 13 months, or what is it? The past, even before was president, it's always been. And matter of fact, I agree with you. He kept the downward trend going, but it was the downward trend that started from 5 years into Obama's term or something like that. So it's not like it's almost like it was already going downhill, but not to take anything from Trump. He did keep the good times rolling. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So fair enough. But, and he did a lot for, at least in terms of the numbers, the highest Black employment, lowest Black unemployment, highest women employment, lowest women unemployment. There's just a lot of things where he was doing really good on policy. But, his rhetoric was abysmal. And the way that he handled COVID, in particular with the messaging, was not good at all. And the way he handled what really hurt him for me a lot was the way he handled losing the election, because the Republicans 4 years ago were making fun of the Democrats for not being able to accept the Trump presidency, which I don't think they ever did.
No,
I think the Republicans had a fair point that the Democrats have been spending 4 years like denying Trump as president and wanting to overturn the election, and so there's some fair stuff there. But 4 years ago, the Republicans, there was a whole clips in the montages where, especially on election night, like the Young Turks are seeing the news come in about Hillary's losing. You just see their like face falling, or the shots of the Javits Center with Hillary Clinton campaign, and they're like, going from cheering to concern to crying and whatever. And then the ultimate meme was the woman in the yellow jacket at Inauguration Day when Trump is being sworn in. She's on the National Mall. You can hear the broadcast that Donald Trump is president of the United States. And she just looks up in the heavens and she screams, "No!" That was the ultimate meme that the Republicans were making fun of the Democrats for 4 years ago. Okay, so how did it work out for the Republicans now in terms of accepting the election?
They're storming the Capitol, right?
Not that great, it turns out. Didn't really our moral high horse. We did a self-own on that one, and we made ourselves not just in the Capitol, because that maybe you could put that aside as acts of just idiots, but more to the point, like how Republicans in broad treated it. Trump won the election, all these talking points, how Trump himself treated the election. The election was stolen. It was all corrupt and everything. It's like, oh my God, so even more mainstream Republican, putting aside the Capitol, we're just not doing a very good, putting Sidney Powell out there, putting Lynn Wood out there, like they had something of value to say.
Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood were bad. Were so bad. I just can't. Well, two things.
So basically, long story short, the Republican credibility is looking a little thin right now.
Well, you know what? Before I get to Sidney and Lynn, the two things. I think Trump would have been looked upon favorably if COVID didn't happen. I will say that in the annals of history, because let's just be clear. If we're just talking about the economy, what Trump did was just extend the credit card, right? By lowering the tax rate from businesses from 30% to 21%. The only thing you did was just take out the credit card, juice businesses, and of course it's going to make the economy. You're going to get lower unemployment. You're going to get this because you've just lowered the tax rate like by 10%, right? So that's billions of dollars you just,
which was also a good move in my opinion as a Republican conservative. I thought it was a really good. It was a good thing inherently, and did what it was supposed to do.
If you are someone who's all right with deficit spending, it did. If you're someone who's already blowing up the deficit, it did. It was supposed to pay for itself with 4%, this, and that never happened. So we're definitely going to talk about the Trump parts. So I think. Thanks for the $2 super chat, Drew. But we're definitely going to get to it. Proof
I think it did. Well, it depends how you measure paying for itself, but it did in large part, I think, help bring more U.S. manufacturing, U.S. jobs to U.S. soil. And also the stuff he did with NAFTA and reform of NAFTA and replacing it was really good for bringing more U.S. jobs and manufacturing. So it depends how you measure things.
Well, we all know that it didn't pay for itself because he blew up the debt.
That's the sore point. That's the sore point for the fiscal conservative Republicans.
Because what you're talking about is you lower just the government revenue through taxes. You lower that revenue, and that and you lost like the $2 trillion. So it just is what it is. It blew up the deficit, and then when COVID hit, that was just the anchor on top of that, because now you got to blow up the deficit anymore to keep people from with the COVID issues, and plus small business and all that stuff. So that was like the double whammy. So I think Trump, the economic disaster. Think about this, and I think a lot of people will never won't appreciate this. 1 year ago, tomorrow, was the first case of COVID identified in the United States. 1 year ago, January 21st, 2020. Was the first COVID case identified. It was in Washington, D.C. And it was also the first case identified in South Korea.
Okay.
Right now, today, a year later, we have 400,000 people dead of COVID. Mm-hmm. That's a disaster. That's a disaster. But I think that's a disaster from the mixed messaging, from just there's a lot of different factors. And you blame the person on top usually. When things go bad like that, you blame the person on top. And I think Trump unfortunately, for whatever reason, he has to take a lot of that blame for the way that in 1 year 400,000 people with COVID.
No, I agree. If for no other reason than the messaging was really horrible. He was not doing the right messaging in terms of COVID, in terms of taking people seriously and taking it seriously. He was not doing the right messaging with masks. He was undermining the health authority and not helping the reliability. And his messaging on COVID was horrific. I thought he made a really good move early on with travel bans for China and Europe to try to prevent new cases from coming in. That was a smart move, but he did really bad stuff in terms of follow through. He should have invoked the Defense Production Act sooner. He should have used it more heavily, particularly with relation to PPE gear, masks and gowns and stuff. I mean, how hard is it to order 3M, for example, make me 10 million masks? When you have the Defense Production Act, it's really easy because you just give them an order. You will now make me 10 million masks. Congratulations.
But you know what, though? But
you should have done that earlier.
But I want to ask you about their defense to that, because they put up, which is an interesting defense. When COVID hit, the economy started tanking because all these services jobs started taking, right? So the bars were closing, hotels were empty, things of that nature, because people, you had to close down these big gatherings. For instance, the NBA season had to stop, and all those sports arenas and all that stuff had to close down. So the only viable part of the economy was this PPE production and things like 3M, who are doing other things that were supporting, transportation and aid and things of that nature. So Trump's argument was, if I nationalize that production value and not let the economy, that now hurts my only viable parts of the economy at the time when I'm losing so many other viable parts. So in other words, to force them to
they're not getting paid for it. I mean, they get paid for they still make the mask and they're still getting paid by the federal government. So they still get the money for it. It's just that now you're going to be making me masks now because I'm the federal government. And I will pay you for it because I have to pay you for it. That's
but it's at the expense of doing other things though. Like now, you have to now make masks. I'm putting in a mask, or you have to make masks. That's the defense production.
As opposed to what? What was more important than the masks and the PPE?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying they had other, like 3M, for instance. 3M had other parts of their business that was still viable, other than just making the masks, for instance. So that's what I'm saying. They were making.
I don't buy that argument. I don't buy that argument. 3M's going to have to suck it up, man.
Just make masks for us, and we'll figure everything else out later.
No. You need the PPE, you need the mask, and he should have been a lot better on the masks and the messaging related to the masks. And he could have done a lot to stop the spread in terms of that. And he was wildly inconsistent on the messaging. And he didn't let the health authorities he undercut his own health authority a lot of the time, who are making messages. So the messaging on COVID was really, really bad. And the way he handled it was really, really bad. And he made the wise decision early on with the travel bans, but it's not really possible to maintain those two positions simultaneously. Like we should block all people coming in from China and all people coming in from Europe because they might bring COVID here, and COVID is really bad. And also simultaneously with that, COVID isn't that bad here in the US. You shouldn't wear masks and all the rest. It's like a little bit hard to maintain those two positions logically at the same time. So he should have followed through more on that. And the way he did it was bad. So I don't know how many more. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people die regardless, but I don't think we would have had as many as did. 400,000 is a lot. So if we had cut it in half, that would have been nice.
No, you're right. Hold on. Let me put up this. I wanted to show you. Let me just get this last super chat. Mom, Dad, please stop fighting. Oh, we're not fighting. We're not
fighting. We're having a very civil conversation.
We're arguing about whether Trump's non-use of the Defense Production Act was a good policy.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, you're right. I think if that's what you need and that's what the messaging is, we should go with it. I wanted to move to Trump's grants of clemency. So two of them were, one was for Lil Wayne and the other one for Kodak Black.
Lil Wayne with a weapons violation I wasn't a fan of. Personally. I don't know anything about Kodak Black though.
All right, so first let me start with Kodak, since you don't know what happened to Kodak Black. But it says here, Kodak Black, who was raised Beach, Florida. Yeah, he was television. About let me see. He was sentenced 3 years or more in prison on weapons charges in November 2019. Pleaded guilty in August 2000. He pleaded guilty in August 2019 to knowingly making false statements when trying to acquire firearms from federally licensed firearm dealers. So they hit him with 3 years, and the judge sentenced him to 46 months in prison. So that was commuted by Trump. And he said that he had given $50,000 to Barstool's COVID-19.
So were both Kodak and Lil Wayne just commuted? They weren't pardoned?
It seems like Kodak was commuted and Lil Wayne was commuted too.
Yeah, I'd want to double check on that to make sure, because
he granted a full pardon to Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne got a full. That's bullshit.
And his pardon was
pardon possession of a firearm and ammunition by convicted felon. Yeah, that's I don't approve of these. No, not real. No, I mean, if you're going to be a convicted felon and have a firearms violation, then 18 USC 930 is the prize you get to win.
Well, some people are saying again, we're answering super chats. So if you guys have any super chats for us, just let us know. But one of the things that people are saying about Lil Wayne was actually arrested in 2019, but so they were saying that he actually endorsed President Trump during this election cycle, and that endorsement was in hopes to get this pardon. And so, what do you think about that? Do you think that this was payback for his endorsement of the president?
I mean, it certainly didn't hurt. I'm sure that they endorsed him. It certainly didn't hurt. But yeah, I'm not especially a full pardon. If he wanted to commute Lil Wayne. But yeah, full pardon, so it strikes it completely off the books. I'm not a fan.
Well, don't forget, it's still an admission of guilt, though. So but
it depends how you interpret the Supreme Court case from 1934 on that language. But whatever.
Yeah.
Also, they were already convicted, so I'm not sure how much more imputation you can get there. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. But he didn't pardon Joe Exotic, who had a limo waiting for him at prison.
What about the Steve Bannon pardon? Because he did pardon Steve Bannon.
Yeah, that was also deeply questionable because the evidence against Steve Bannon looked pretty good on the U.S. From the U.S. attorney, because I read that indictment. We did it on stream one time, and it looks pretty good in terms of defrauding the charities and things like that. And so it looks pretty questionable. But Steve Bannon obviously was a huge part of his campaign and all. So I guess that's a little bit more understandable, somewhat.
Why didn't he pardon Colfage, the triple amputee that was with Bannon? Like, he only pardoned Bannon, but you had this other guy.
I guess Colfage is going down hard because now Steve Bannon can't refuse to testify because he has no liability. So he has to testify against Colfage. So
and he can't lie. And he can't lie. Yeah, it'd be perjury.
It'd be perjury. Yeah. So
who cares about this? Is Nate 200? He says, who cares about felony possession? I follow the law, but it isn't the end of the world. That's true. Possession of a firearm. Who really cares?
Well, the Democrats do in large measure. They're the ones who keep saying how firearms are horrible.
Free Lil Wayne. And this is, I have too many unweighted comments to push to be asking questions. Oh, I'm so sorry. But thanks for the 5. Thanks for the 5 books, Richard. All right. So I think I'm surprised he didn't go farther with the pardons, and he
didn't pardon Assange. A little sorry with the deep state.
I think
about that.
I think Assange was
Snowden. But
Snowden, I didn't think he would get.
I mean, Assange, I don't really think broke the law, as best as I can tell. I read the U.S. indictment on that one, and I was not impressed with the U.S.'s case against Assange. So I think pardoning him would have been good, just to clear that up. Snowden obviously broke the law, and so that's a tougher call. But they were both trying to undermine the deep state, and Trump says how much he hates the deep state. So I was very surprised. I was a little surprised that he didn't pardon.
I didn't think they were. I didn't think they were going to go down. They were going to get pardoned. For some reason, I just didn't think Trump was on that. I am surprised that he didn't. Who else? There was somebody else who I was thinking he was going to pardon, but he didn't pardon.
Well, he didn't pardon anyone in his family. He didn't pardon himself, so we don't have to worry about that legal issue.
Yeah, that was the issue. There was someone else. I can't remember. It was like one other person I was thinking. I'm surprised he didn't pardon him, but at the end of the day, it happened. It was it. What do you think? What do you feel about him not attending the inauguration?
I'd be interested to know what Biden thinks about it, to be quite honest, what his honest feelings are on it, because I wonder if he's relieved or angry about it. Maybe a little bit of both. It'd be interesting to be able to crawl inside Biden's mind and see what he's thinking. But yeah, it's a kind of a dick move. I mean, Obama was sitting right there as Trump was getting sworn in and giving his speech about unrest in the streets and the destruction of America, basically. So it not to be there was a dick move, and but yeah. So I don't know. I wonder what Biden really thought about it, whether he thought that was good or bad.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. I'm thinking it may have been good for Trump because with the nice send off and everything. But I think at the end of the day, he lost fair and square. And I know there's so many people out there who are going to hate and going to be like, "Oh my God, Nate, the election was rigged. It was stolen. We know it. We have evidence." And then when you ask for the evidence, there's no evidence presented. It was funny because I was arguing with somebody the other day, and they were like, "No judge looked at any of the affidavits." So I start going through, me. Yes, I start going through cases. Well, let's start with Sharpiegate. Here's one. They looked at the affidavits, found out that they were lies, found out that they were this. So here's another one. Judge looked at 300 affidavits. Here's what he said. Let's look at the tape. So you're going through these cases. And then at the end of like 5 of them, okay, well, most of them were dismissed on standing. Okay, so let's look at this one that was dismissed on standing. It wasn't dismissed on standing. It was dismissed on it. And then when you go through this process and show that, hey, if you say you have evidence of something, right, and you take it to a court, the court is the best to evaluate that evidence, right? Not me and you just here talking about it, right? The court has rules, and that's what they do. They're professional people at evaluating evidence and arguing about the value of evidence.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
That's their job. That's what they get paid to do. And they looked at it and said this evidence is bullshit. And then the first thing people will say is, well, it's funny because the first thing I heard was, well, all the judges are political hacks. Well, okay, well, what about the ones that President Trump put on? Those are political hacks. Well, what about the ones that he put? Oh, those are political hacks. So you're like, even the Republican judges are no good. Then, so it seemed like it just was excuse after excuse after excuse. And even some of our legal colleagues on here, when a judge, any bad ruling from a judge, it was political in nature. Even no matter who appointed that judge, it was political in nature.
Yeah, so all the Trump judges, they're just disloyal to Trump. They're just backstabbers. It's like, no, they're actually looking at I agree with you completely. I looked at about half of them. And they were all crap.
Yeah, and it's not like, and the fact of the matter is when you tell people, this is my opinion is one thing, but the law is another. The law says, you can't bring cases that have no standing. Next thing you know, standing is all bullshit. Like, no, what? Standing is bullshit. This is 200 years of jurisprudence. Standing is not bullshit. If you're a lawyer and you go into court and say standing is bullshit, the judge is going to say, get the hell out of my courtroom.
No, well, Nate, that any lawyer, when I hear any lawyer say that they take standing seriously, I never take that lawyer seriously ever again.
Oh my God. But you know what though? The problem with that is that most people don't understand this. If you look at Lynn Wood's ethical violations, some of the ethical violations were based on standing. You bought a frivolous suit that had no basis in fact and law. That's saying that you bought a suit without standing, right? You if you're bringing a suit that's not based in fact and law, you're bringing a suit that doesn't have any standing. That's what you get banged for. And that's what when any lawyer evaluates a case, the first thing you evaluate it for is standing. Who are we suing, right? How did they injure you? And what court am I taking it to so you can recover your
standing is just a complete fiction invented by the U.S. Supreme Court. It has no basis in common law or any foundations of any kind. And, no one would take standing seriously unless they were an idiot and blah, blah, blah. Am I doing my best Barnes yet?
Yes, but I still want to say though, it's just that I think at a point what we started doing, I think even in our little community, is stop evaluating the facts of the matter and started just making it all political. Whenever we didn't like something, there was a political reason for it instead of saying, well, they might not just be the and
maybe there's a law reason for it. Whoa, maybe these are legal doctrines that are well worn that any lawyer should be able to understand. Hell, any 2L should be able to understand.
This is from Red Guy. Out of everything that happened, my favorite moment is still during the Arizona Challenge. Republican said They literally brought evidence, and then the Democrats proceeded to say there was no evidence.
Yeah, a lot of these people, when they came forward and said we have evidence, and then you look at it, it's like not really, not so much. You have a bunch of bullshit.
No,
so yeah.
One of the funniest things was Rudy Giuliani, right? He's outside the courtroom. Fraud. They go in the courtroom. Judge is like, so what do we do?
Yeah, that was good. We are not alleging fraud, Your Honor. We are not alleging fraud.
Who said fraud?
Who said fraud? We're no fraud.
Yeah, fraud. We're not alleging fraud.
That was good. That was good too.
That was outside. I'm just saying it outside.
That was just just has nothing to do with this case. We were talking about something else.
And then it got to the point. It got to the point where any little bit, like if you found one instance of voter fraud, like somebody voted for their mom in some rural county in West Bubble F. Next thing you know, that was evidence to overturn the whole election, right? It was like there's 150 million votes. You're saying because you found one instance of voter fraud from this one person, we throw out all the elections for all states? Yes. It shows we got a massive problem.
No. It must be the grand conspiracy. It must be like the Republican Secretary of State and the Republican Governor of Georgia and all these Republican officials everywhere in a grand conspiracy against the Republican Party in multiple different states who are looking at and Trump-appointed judges who are Republican looking at it must be grand conspiracy by the Republicans.
That's what it is, baby. That's what it is. Now, I'm going to show you one thing. This is now for the Q people. Hey, I love you guys. Even though I think the Q stuff is crazy, insane. But you guys, since we're talking about the conspiracy theories, I wanted to get your. I don't believe you've seen this. I want to get your reaction to Alex Jones. Alex Jones on the Q people.
All right.
This is real time reaction. He hasn't seen this. Nate. Let's say, Nate, command your mods. They are busy tonight. Commend your mods. Oh, thank you so much, the mods. Yes. Thank you, Christina Ray. These guys know I love them. All right, here we go. Let's hear Alex Jones on his new thing about Q.
I know that. You know that. I'm saying Q tells us stuff in all of its lies, is what I'm saying.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. Because you're full of shit. That's why. Because every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true. And it's always, there's energy, and now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. You said it was all over. They were all going to get Now, he's part of a larger thing of Q. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one. I know what you are now, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks and pumpkin possums and everything. Oh, God. Sorry. How about you? I can't talk to you anymore. Jesus, Lord help me. Oh.
I concur with Alex Jones. I concur. I agree with Alex Jones.
He said, you said he was the Messiah.
Can we see it again?
You want to see that again?
I want to see it again. That was definitely 45 seconds I want to see over. Yeah.
But that's true, right? Did they say Trump was the Messiah?
Oh, they said all kinds of shit. No, he says with passion and lack of prefrontal cortex the things that I wish I could say. The Q is full of lies and full of shit. I'm not going to suffer this anymore because everything he says lies. Maybe I need to reach deep in myself, really deep, and find that Alex Jones in me. Maybe I need some brain force. That's what I need. I need some brain force. I live in the same town as Alex Jones. How do I meet Alex Jones? He's my neighbor. Can we meet up and he can get me some brain force, and he can help me teach the ways of InfoWars. We can move the Uncivil Law show onto InfoWars. It'll be awesome.
Everybody's asking to see this thing again. So let me play it because I've made you guys crazy. So check it out. Here we go. Alex Jones on Q. Booyah.
I know that. You know that. I'm saying Q tells us stuff in all of its lies, is what I'm saying.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. Because you're full of shit. That's why, because every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true. And it's always, oh, there's energy, and oh, now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. You said it was all over. They were all going to Gitmo. Now, oh, he's part of a larger thing of Q. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one. I know what you are now, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks and pumpkin popsums and everything. Oh, God. Sorry. Bye bye, Q. I can't talk to you anymore. Jesus, Lord help me. Oh.
What was that pumpkin? What?
I don't know.
Pops.
You know,
yeah, I missed that. Yeah.
Oh, no, he just fucking trash. 200 of you haven't liked the stream. You better like this. Thank you, Nervy.
I'm at it with these witches and warlocks, and I will not suffer you, Q people.
But don't get me wrong, though. He was hard Q, though. He was Q down. He was QAnon, boy. But now
no, he knew it from day one. He just said so. Remember?
He knew it from day one. Yeah, he knew it from day one. You guys were full of crap. Day one. Oh my God. What can you do?
Man, so I have to really mess with my voice to channel that energy. I don't know how if that does permanent damage to my vocal cords.
So now, what do you think is going to happen? So Biden's in now he's not President-elect Biden. Now he's President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm hoping to say it right. It's Kamala, right? Kamala.
And Sonia Sotomayor screwed it up.
Yeah,
so there's been some drama on Twitter today about how Sonia Sotomayor, the wise Latina herself, screwed up the pronunciation of Kamala.
And she's like, Kamala. I'm going to mess it up anyway. But what do you expect from the first 100 days?
Well, we've already seen a little bit of that with some of the executive orders.
19
down. Yeah. So we've already seen some of that.
Those are just wiping out Trump stuff and Paris Accord and stuff like that. So that's
So and I critical race theory for Department of Education now should make the conservatives. That'll make the conservatives super happy.
Yeah, that's back.
That's going to be a problem. Rolling out the vaccine, of course, will be a major part of the first 100 days of the thing. Beyond that, I'm not really sure what we'll see. We will see. But yeah, the critical race theory will be the thing that I'll be screaming about for the next 4 years. So that'll be good.
You have reconciliation. So that now for people who don't know what reconciliation is, I'm going to give you a little lesson here. At once a year, all right? What is it? Once every 2 years? Once every budget cycle?
Yeah,
it's once every budget cycle. Congress there's a procedure called reconciliation. Now, when Trump was trying to get the budget process done. And they were like reconciliation. They got those taxes passed without the filibuster in the Senate based on reconciliation. Now, reconciliation is a process in which, for expediency for the budget, it's a workaround the filibuster rule. Where if you have a bill for the budget and you just want to make it was really for minor changes. If you want to make minor changes to a bill, then you didn't need to get the 60 votes in the Senate to break a filibuster. You only need 51. But you could only use it once during this time for reconciliation every budget cycle. So now, before the Democrats, when Trump first got into the office, the Republicans used it to pass their stuff. Now the Democrats, because you can only use it once during a cycle. So now the Democrats have both the Senate and the House, so they can more or less use reconciliation this one time to pass their agenda. That's why now you're hearing about the $2,000 this and blah, 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 because now they can do
minimum wage
going up 15 because now you don't need 60 votes in the Senate. You can do it with you can do it and raising
the Democrats got the Affordable Care Act passed through reconciliation.
Yes. So reconciliation is how you govern. That's why it's important. That's why it was important losing those two senators in Georgia. That's why that's important because now that opens up them to really make some big changes.
Republicans really fucked that up with the Senate seats in Georgia. Holy God, can we fuck that up anymore?
Yeah. So now, what do you? Because obviously, two of the things that they want to do, they want to raise the business taxes back up from I think from 21 to 25% or something like that, which I think is going to be tough, especially in a year like this when you have a pandemic. Yeah. Raising taxes, I think, is a bad idea. But then also you have the $2,000 checks, $15 minimum wage. What do you think all that goes? Because now you're talking about being able to get a lot of those lefty wish lists off the board early. in a Biden administration, before you have the Republican takeover in 2 years, obviously.
Yeah, well, it looks like they're not going to nuke the filibuster. It looks like Schumer doesn't have the votes within his own caucus to get rid of the filibuster, so they're going to maintain that for at least the moment. How long that will remain true as they get frustrated with process, who can say? So they could always nuke it later. So then they'll have to decide. Of course, they're also going to be spending time with the impeachment trial, unless Joe Biden comes out and tries to quash the whole thing to in the name of unity or something. But I don't know if his incentives are there. So yeah, that's going to take up a lot of time, because once the Senate picks that up, they have to go into that the next day by law, and so that's going to be a pain in the ass. That's going to take some time.
It's the Senate majority.
The Senate could drown if the Republicans were really creative. They could try to figure out ways to eat up time for the impeachment for the first 100 days, because they can't do any other business during impeachment. You're like, no, we just really need to hear things out and make the Democrats look bad. So there might be a play in there for the Republicans to stall the agenda and make the Democrats all the Republicans look like devils and stuff. So there might be a play in there somewhere if the Republicans are thinking.
If I was smart and you're the Democrats, now since because don't forget the majority leader is the one that controls the votes, what hits the floor because it's voted on. So what I think is that you make these people take tough votes, hey, let these people, get these people on the record voting against $2,000, voting against this, voting against that, because those votes against matter in election years. But I don't think the Democrats are that smart. I think you get what you need to get done in reconciliation. Let's not pretend we're going to get 10 Republicans on board to block a filibuster. You do your reconciliation, you get your big plans through, you do that, you're one big, and then everything else will be your little fight. You don't need 60 votes to pass any Supreme Court picks. You don't need 60 votes to pack the court. You just need the 50 votes and you're done. That's the way I would do it. That's the way they did it. That's the way I'm going to do it. And for the next 2 years, let's just not kid ourselves. These are 2 years Democrats got. After these 2 years, they're going to lose the House.
They're probably going to. They'll lose the House, they'll lose the Senate in 2 years if this is anything like a typical midterm. Yes. Midterms typically go against the president in place. They are only 6 votes separating them in the House, and they're dead even. So they'll lose the House, they'll lose the Senate in 2 years if it's anything like a normal election. And the Republicans look better in the long term. So we'll see. Yeah, without Trump to drag them down, presumably the Republicans won't screw it up completely.
Well, what do you think is going to be Trump's legacy in these? Is it going to be the final 2 months, or is it going to be the first 3 years? Because the first 3 years before COVID hits, the first 3 years of a Trump presidency were a good 3 years. 2 Supreme Court picks, great economy, low taxes, things were rolling. Those first 3 years were good 3 years. Really, the last year is, I think, what lost him the election. So is history going to judge him on the last year or the first 3?
I don't know. We're a little close to it, and also because I'm within the party, it's a little bit hard. But I think at least in the short term, he's going to be, completely derided, and what his long-term legacy will be, who knows? But he was different. I mean, he'll have a legacy one way or another. They'll be teaching about him for a long time, I'm sure, because he was very unconventional. Yeah.
400 again. It's no matter if you hate Trump or you like Trump, he was a consequential president. He was definitely a consequential. Don't forget, 1/3 of the Supreme Court. He picked 1/3 of the Supreme Court in a 4-year term. That shit just doesn't happen, brother. That shit doesn't happen. So he's a very consequential president. He made a lot of great changes. So, but a lot of things that he did was just literally wiped away in the stroke of a pen. That's what Biden did that today. Those 17 executive orders more or less wiped 4 years of Trump's presidency off the books and started and brought back Obama era stuff. So that's where we're at. Do you think weed is going to get legalized? Because there seemed to be a push for that.
Joe Biden doesn't seem like he's a fan at all. He's made lots of negative statements against it in the past. So I don't really think the Democrats really want to do it. So I'm going to go with no. I don't think the Democrats have it in them. They don't have the balls.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something that's great for the base, though. I think if you're extreme lefty, that's the dream, right? Mm-hmm. Legalized weed. That's always been the dream. So, we'll see. So, before we get out of here, any last minute predictions for the upcoming Biden administration?
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be just kind of. I mean, I can tell you what the press will be saying. They'll be fawning over his every move. There won't be any. There won't be any skepticism of him really by the press. They'll just be fawning over him, saying how he's great and everything's wonderful. And it will be interesting because the immediate problem for the administration is getting through its cabinet picks, and they can't really do that until the Senate figures out what the rules are for power sharing.
Mhm.
They put through the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence today, but they're going to have a problem confirming the other nominees because most of them are going to go through committees, and you can't go through committee until the committee exists. And so they need to figure out what the rules are for power sharing and whatever, and they still haven't been able to do that. So that's the immediate challenge there to figure out the rules in the Senate so you can actually have committees so you can get through the nominees for the cabinets because you don't have any cabinet right now.
Hold on. What wasn't the I'm assuming they were going to use the same, I forget what Congress it was under the Bush administration when you had the last 50-50 Senate, where it's exact same number of people on the committee.
Well, that would be the logical thing to do, but they haven't committed to that yet.
All right, because for those who don't know, the last time was a 50-50 Senate. What they did is that everything was 50-50, and if there was a tie vote in any committee, then it would automatically go to a House floor vote. But the majority leader was the person who was voted in by enough votes. So since the vice president was a tiebreaker, it happened to be the Republican who was the majority leader, and they are the person who sets the schedule on the floor of the Senate. So that's the way they did it before. I'm not sure if they're doing it that way now, but that just would make sense. Tie votes were sent up to the floor. The AAG for civil rights is correct. Who is the AAG? The Assistant
Attorney General. I don't know who it is though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think things are going to be slow. The Biden administration is going to be busy with the rollout anyway for the coronavirus vaccine. So that's going to be a major part of their initiative.
Yeah.
In terms of what the Senate is going to be dragging through the committee assignments, and then once they get those solved, they'll be dragging through the impeachment for however long that's going to take. And so there's going to be stuff on the executive side, but I wouldn't expect to see any major sweeping legislation coming through. The Republicans will be majorly concerned with the Secretary of Education concerning all the stuff that they want to do in terms of Title IX and education relating to transgender sports and relating to the racial justice stuff that they want to do. So that'll drag on. So I think it's going to be kind of slow going and kind of just banal for a while, which will be kind of a nice change, even for me as a conservative Republican. Because especially in the last 2 months, I've been getting a little sick of the Trump thing. I was like, I'm ready to move on. And I'm, especially with him throwing his temper tantrum after the election, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to move on now. I know Biden's going to do a lot of stuff I won't like, but at least I have content to complain about. So when he comes out with his initiatives, like, here's what the Biden administration is doing to impose communism today. We'll have a communism tea hour part of my channel. That'll be good.
What's the CNNs of the world going to do now? Because they,
or the late night shows of the world.
Oh my God!
All the ratings, all the late, right? They won't have anything to talk about.
It's like it's going to be crazy. You know what? It's funny. I was doing research on this because I was going to do a video on it, but now I'm scared because every time you speak about it, it seems like you get shut down. I want to ask about the transgendered sports issue. Mm-hmm. And one of the more interesting things is I was watching. Well, first I did some YouTube research, and then I started reading some papers on it. And it just seems like a weird issue because on one end, like for instance, in I think Connecticut, they allowed transgendered women to compete against they call them cis women in track meets. But like the top two women in the state happen to be transgendered women, right? And this was the same. This is like the top woman in power weightlifting happened to be a transgendered woman, and the issue seemed to be, you wanted to be fair to allow transgendered women to compete in sport, but is it fair to let someone who had all the benefits of being, like, say, a biological male who may transition later compete with biological women? And one like Joe Rogan, for a lot of people who hate Joe Rogan, he was saying that they tried this experiment in MMA, and it was just like ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
just,
Fox, I think was the man / woman's name. Yeah,
it was like insane, so they just had to stop doing it. But they're saying that this is a violation of human rights. But I'm just, and maybe it just maybe because I'm old fashioned, or I'm just like, maybe just an idiot. But I'm just trying to figure out, it seems like there has to be a better way than just, because it's true. You want, you don't want somebody to have such a competitive advantage physically, and because I was watching a show and they were like, well, maybe we should just get rid of the men versus women versus women and men versus all men. But if you do that, then you'd have no women champions, right? Because men just have this superior physical advantage over just biology. So I don't know. What do you think about that whole thing? I've been rambling on about it.
Yeah, no, I think you're basically right on all that, and time is just going to really tell for a lot of this stuff on terms of what's going to happen. But I think for the moment, it's just going to be kind of But I think that's what kind of people want. So it'll also be particularly interesting what the news is just going to talk about and what the news coverage will look like. What do they have? The whole thing is going to be really interesting to see what develops.
Yeah, because I heard them talking about it today, and it's just like, it sounds fair when you say it, but then when you just look at some of the consequences of it, you say, well, is it really that fair, or how do we make it?
No, I mean the feminists, the feminists and the TERFs and the transgender activists have been fighting forever, and this will just be more of the TERFs and the transgender activists fighting each other. Because LGBT does kind of undermine LNG to some degree, because it denies the premise on which LNG exists. So yeah, transgender has always been a weird fit in with the LGB part of the equation. And so watching the TERFs fight the transgender activists when it comes to women in sports and fairness to women and women being women and what women are will be endlessly hilarious for me on the right, to see how that develops. And I think what the administration is going to do is they're going to go against men can be women and women can be men. There's no difference at all. And men, if they're transitioning, can be in women's sports, and women will be like, but that's erasing us. And you'll see men just blow apart every record. Like there was a guy on Joe Rogan. I think he's a weightlifter in UK, and I think he was on Joe Rogan, and he's like he's a serious weightlifter, but he's just on a high end. He's not like exceptional for men, but he said one day, okay, now I'm a woman, because apparently that's the thing you can do. And then he lifted that day, and he breaks every single female record in the history of time. And then he says, okay, now I'm a man again. So where are the rules, right? Because it's like, well, it's not based on biology, it's not based on your genitalia, it's not based on your hormones, it's not based on how you present yourself, it's not based on who you dress, it's not based on how you think. It's just based whether you really truly believe you're a woman. So he's like, okay, I really truly believe I'm a woman, and now I just beat the benching record, the squat record, the every record that exists just from a normal workout. It's how a middling male tennis player can beat the Williams sisters, because it's just different from biology, which the Democrats and left seem to have a problem accepting for some reason. So yeah, they'll try it, and we'll all blow up in their face, and it'll be hilarious.
I think it's a struggle to be fair, because you don't want someone who feels that they're born into the wrong sex. Then they have to deal with the whole transition to the right sex. And then if they want to compete, in physical activities, they really can't compete as their old sex, but then they can't compete as the new sex because they have an advantage. So, so it's trying to make society more perfect. But some questions just can't be answered simply. Some answers, some just have to be, sometimes no is the answer. But I think there may be some, like some people in the chat are saying, we're wrong because women and men are equal, in terms of physical sports, which I'm sorry, I don't agree with. But maybe there's some, if you have the science on that. But the reason why we have these differences in sports, Title IX, for instance, and all this, is because we all accept that there's a difference between the genders when it comes to physical activity and testosterone and biology. We all know that, and I can still bench press almost 300 pounds. A woman might, the woman, a woman my age, it probably cannot. If a woman can bench 300 pounds, she's looking at she's going to the Olympics. If I bench press 300 pounds, I'm going to the neighborhood gym. That's what I'm talking about. Am I wrong with that, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. No, but watching them fight each other is going to be endlessly hilarious because they have to decide whether or not biology exists. When you said just now that you worry about people who feel like they're born into the wrong sex, as a conservative, my mind immediately goes to, well, what does that even mean? What would that mean to feel like you're born into the wrong sex? Because you have to define what it would feel like to be any sex in particular, right? So like, what does a male feel like, or what does a female feel like, so that you can know whether or not you feel wrong for your genitalia? How would you know? Like, how would I know, in principle, whether or not I feel like a man or a woman? What does a man feel like? What does a woman feel like? I can't feel like a man or feel like a woman unless those terms have some meaning and there's a way to differentiate them. And then, but the social justice warriors on the left will say, well, there's no difference between men and women. They think the same, act the same, feel the same. They can do anything the other one can do. They have the same brains. There's no difference between men and women. I'm like, okay, if there's no difference between men and women, then to say I feel like a man or I feel like a woman is literally meaningless. It conveys no meaning. And so, because if a woman can feel any way and act any way, then how I feel and how I act would definitionally be how a woman feels, because they could feel this way and act this way. So it's like the whole thing doesn't make any sense. So they have to decide if these terms mean anything, what the differences are. But once they decide that there's differences between men and women, they've undermined their whole argument. So the left is fighting itself and eating itself alive. None of it makes any sense to me, Nate. I'm endlessly confused.
I'm trying to, well, like, from the way I understand it, and maybe this may be my own confusion. The way I understand it, there are men and male women, right? We have differences. That's obvious. Anybody who's telling you men and women are identically the same, doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm saying, just go to a club, you can point out these are the men, these are the women. We act differently.
No, you can't do that without stereotyping. You can't say those are men and those are women. Those stereotypes.
I'm just saying maybe it is, but when I go, I understand there are both biological and physical differences between the genders. That's just you can see the differences. But even with that, I think this is where the conversation gets nuanced, in the sense of when you're talking about working and climbing that corporate ladder and being president, then there should be no differences, right? Women having the right to vote, equal rights, equal opportunities as men. That is something I agree with. I'm all on board for that, right? Women and men should be treated equally in the workplace. Women shouldn't get paid less for being women. Women shouldn't have these type of things. That's cool. But then when we talk about the biological differences in sports, I think that's where you start getting into the problem where, what are we talking about here? Let's try to be fair to everyone. But sometimes you just have situations you can't be fair. And when we talk about someone who happens to be, who feels that, they want to identify as a woman or identify as a man, you're right. I don't know how that feels, because I've never had that issue. It's like, I don't know how it feels to be high on heroin, because I've never used heroin. You know what I'm saying? I not to equate their struggle to drug addiction, but to say that, if someone's feeling that way and that's somebody's sincere people's sincere religious beliefs, some I just don't agree with. So only thing I'm saying is that this seems to be well documented. It seems to be well understood that people have these feelings, and that people, are born with these different sexual experiences. And I support, you can do whatever you want. We're a free country. If you can pay and you can do whatever you want.
I have no objection to you doing whatever you want. That's fine. But once you impose on me, we're going to have a problem. Or impose on anyone else, you're going to have a problem. You do you. Yeah. I don't care. But if you want other people to act a certain way towards you, then I have a problem. If you want to impose, I must be able to compete with this team or that team because I'm this way, now you're imposing on other people, and you can go to hell.
Yeah, see, I'm all for fair. And what's fair is fair. And but again, in this situation, I don't know what that even means. I don't know what it means to be fair in this situation, because it seems like to be fair to one party, you have to disadvantage another, and that's not just right either. But what can we do? There's no way we're going to solve this problem, and we're probably just going to make a whole bunch of people mad on Twitter. Look how these two people there too so dumb. They don't know the intricacies of the gender.
As I was just explaining to the chat, I've had conversations with people on my channel before, including people who are psychologists and deal with transgender patients, and I've had people try to explain it to me, and every time they've explained it to me, I just wind up in logical circles, because there are principles that are in conflict with each other and they can't be reconciled. Either men and women are different or they're the same. Either there are essential qualities that belong to women and don't belong to men, and vice versa, or there are no essential qualities. And there's no way. Tell me a quality that belongs to women and doesn't belong to men. Tell me a quality that belongs to men and doesn't belong to women. I just wind up. They just wind up in logical circles, because the principles are in conflict with each other, and they can't do it without winding up into conflicts. So the whole thing is endlessly confusing, and I'm sure the Department of Education is going to come out with guidelines relating to this, and they won't make any sense either, because they're built on predicates that are in hopeless conflict with each other, and I don't know where we go from there.
Huh. Well, hey, if we could solve it tonight, we'd be millionaires. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to solve it. And last but not least, so did you see my thing on what's his name? What's the guy's name? Jacob Blake today? Did you see that? Yeah. What did you think about that? Now that we have the full information, what do you think about the Jacob Blake story?
No, I think that was the guy who was shot by the police with a knife, right?
Yeah, he had the knife and shot in the back.
Yeah, I thought we had that pretty well established beforehand, that he had the knife in his hand. He was on the back passenger side of the car. He got into a scuffle with the police.
They were trying to arrest
the scuffle. Well, yeah, because they were trying to arrest him. Once the scuffle was over, he started walking. He walked towards the front of the car, around the front of the car, towards the driver's side. The entire time he had the knife in his hand. You were able to see that in the video. The police were telling him, stop, stop, stop. He gets to the car with children inside. So now some civilians are a threat. And the police engage in fire. So I thought they were well within the bounds of lawful use of force. Yeah. Because, what is the alternative, at that point? There are alternatives, but that was a valid option. So I thought it was a valid self-defense shooting.
Yeah, I did too, and it's interesting because I find that with some of these shootings, like for that shooting, a lot of my conservative brothers would say, okay, that's a clean shoot, right? Done. It was what it was, and he had a knife, right? But then you go to the Babbitt shooting, and now we're talking about warning shots again. Well, why can't they shoot him in the legs? And so it seems like, and again, I'm thinking with Babbitt, it may be more political, but even in that situation, I think it's not as a clean shoot as the Blake situation. But at the end of the day, I think that shooting is as clean. It's clean enough. And what you're saying, you have somebody, trying to break through a secure area with VIPs behind you, and the cops have given you warnings. The witnesses, they're giving you warnings. You're pointing a gun, at the person and saying, stop, don't do it, get back. And they come and jump over and try to break through the window and jump into the room. What was the cop supposed to do? So I don't know. Do you know about the Babbitt shooting?
Remind me.
The Babbitt is the woman at the Trump riot. She was the only person that was shot at the riot. And she went in, jumped through the window.
Sure. Okay, fine.
Shot her because they were breaking down. They had the Congress people behind them, so they broke in, and the cop was like, "Stop! Don't do it!" And then she tried to jump through, and they shot her back. So so they're saying that. So now some conservatives are saying that wasn't a justified shooting. That was a bad shooting.
It was a justified shooting. Yeah, it was a justified shooting. If one person jumps through the windows, other people are going to jump through the windows, and then they have a problem because they're going to be overwhelmed. So they shoot. They were very clear. They had their guns drawn. They're like, get back, get back, get back. They had their guns drawn. The woman goes to jump through the window, and she gets shot. I mean, the police were well within the bounds of justified force, in my opinion. And the Republicans who argue differently, it's like it doesn't make 100% sense. It's like, are you telling me if it was a Democrat doing that you wouldn't want them shot in that situation? Or I mean, it's just a lot of special pleading things. So it's like, yeah, the whole thing's so special pleading. And then I pointed out, if someone was jumping through the window of my house, I consider that a threat, especially if I were telling them to get back. If they're jumping through the window of my house, I'd shoot them. So
yeah, somebody's coming through the window of the house. Well, don't forget their breast to the window. That as soon as I see somebody up on the window ledge, they're getting shot. It's boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? I think this cop used remarkable restraint with only one shot, to be honest with you, right? So
yeah, no, I think the police acted properly. The hordes are at the door. They're telling them get back. They have the secure area, and they tell them get back. And this woman is jumping through the door in response to this, with the police with their guns drawn. What exactly did she think was going to happen? I don't know, but she's dead now, and she deserved it. And maybe all the people egging her on should be charged with felony murder. Where the charges begin and where the charges end. Well, that's the nice part about the pardon, since none of the people who were doing the rioting, I did like all the people in the days following who were like begging for pardons. Did you see some of their videos? It was really annoying. Did you see their videos?
Yes, I did. And the one, what's the one?
We should do the one with the woman who went on the jet. We should do that on stream. We should do the woman who went on the jet, who gave the interview to the press. We should do that on stream right now, because she really pissed me off. She's like, I didn't think they were gonna come after us, and I don't think we should be. I don't think we should go. They're trying to put us in jail, and I don't think we deserve it. And I'm like, lol. Justice Hammer goes brr. That's all I'm thinking to myself. Justice Hammer goes brr. So yeah, I'm glad that I get to talk about this for quite some time. I got a Justice Semi going on right now as we speak.
Oof. She flew to that thing with a private jet. I still don't understand. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, no. I like the woman who's like, we got maced. We didn't think that was going to happen. They put mace in our eyes, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, woman?
I'm going to say one thing though about this whole thing. No matter, number one, Trump's speech was constitutionally protected. It was not incitement in any sense. I've listened to the speech. It wasn't even close to incitement. I'm saying it's not. Yeah, I think legal even said it's not incitement. We're not breaking any news today. It wasn't.
Legal was a little bit more tenuous.
But he said it was protected though. Even though it was in his legal way, he said it was protected. I heard the words.
It was tenuous. He left it open. Yeah, no, but yeah, because the only thing that you can point to for Trump that is kind of inflammatory, like we have to fight. I mean, that kind of language is very typical in politics, and you can find lots worse than that. But we have to fight. We have to fight for our freedom. You can find Democrats, and there have been on conservative shows. You can find Democrats just put the reel together of all the things I can't believe they're not fighting in the streets. People need to be fighting for their liberty. They should take to the streets. You can find Democrats saying this all day long. But Trump didn't get that far.
But he specifically said, we're going to go down there and peacefully, right, protest this travesty. So it's hard when someone says those words to then say they were inciting a riot, even though I do understand the other argument that, based on the lies and all this other stuff, this was all fake.
No, he was raising the temperature, and that's dick. He raised the temperature, and I think he is to blame, not in a legal sense, but in a moral sense. There's some moral responsibility there. Because for 2 months solid, this is going back to him being a whiny little bitch, and the Republicans 4 years ago bitching about the Democrats being whiny little bitches, and now him being a whiny little bitch, even worse than the Democrats were 4 years ago. And for 2 months, he's been out there saying, this was the best election ever. I won all the votes. They stole the election. They won't look at the votes, these judges, and all the rest of it. So he's just increasing the temperature. And then he gets all these people together. It's like, we need to fight. They stole the election. They're stealing our democracy from us. So there's some moral responsibility in that when you're feeding people lies all the time. Yeah. For 2 months, he was telling people just out and out, bold-faced lies, because all the claims sucked ass. as you and I both looked at the claims, and they all suck, and they were all garbage. And then so you look at them and like, there's nothing here. What are you talking about? And like, and you get the QAnon people, and even not the QAnon people, you get fairly mainstream Republicans saying there was so much evidence, so many affidavits. The court didn't look at them. Like, they're all crap. So the Trump has some responsibility for inflaming the temperature. But yeah, like all these people were trying to say, well, the president directed me. I'm not responsible. I was doing what my president told me to do. And I'm just like Justice Hammer go, brrr. Yeah, no. So they can all suck it.
Oh my God. Well, listen, right now we're about an hour, 20 minutes in. We've had a great time tonight. So what do you got coming up soon on the channel? Anything good coming up?
Nothing super in particular coming up. But we're just going to do more of FBIT. We've got FBIT forever because we're on like number 12, I think, and there's already been like 80 people arrested. So the FBI is working faster than I can. So we get FBIT forever, and other than that, we just got the same content we're doing as usual, where there's a couple lawsuits we're looking at. We'll probably do some of the stuff on the business lawsuit with Swanson at some point. Still looking for the documents in that one. I prefer not to pay LA like $30 for those documents if I don't have to. But yeah, that's what we got going on. So just check out my channel, Uncivil Law. Join the channel, and you can hear more of my thoughts about how the people who raided the Capitol can suck it up and enjoy their time in Club Fed.
Well, hey, you guys got to watch his T stuff. It is fun to watch, and if you like keeping up with all these things, like for me, what do I have coming up next? I got a couple more police shootings I want to get through, and then I have I'm thinking about, a lot of people have been asking me to do movie reviews about like Wonder Woman 1984 and some other stuff, so I'm thinking about getting into that again.
Oh man, I never watched the movie. I read the book like 50 times.
1984.
Yeah, and so I never saw the movie because the book I've read the book too many times. It can't possibly be as good as it was in my head.
No, I'm talking about Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh Jesus, okay. I thought you were talking about Orwell 1984.
No, it was a bad movie. It was a bad movie. It was a horrible movie. You know what it was? It was social justice warriors going crazy. They fucked up Star Wars too. It's the same thing. So, but anyway. So I'm going to try to do some of that, but hopefully this week, we'll do something else. Next week we're going to be on Kirk's channel, so talking about more of this stuff, and hopefully we will be seeing you guys there. So thanks again for spending your Wednesday night with us as always. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. My name is Nate the Lawyer. This is Kurt, aka Uncivil Law. Thanks for checking us out, and we're going to see you guys next time. Same Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Peace, people.